The rain hammered the tin roof of the old Harlan barn like 1,000 accusations, each drop a reminder that freedom was just a word in books Noah had devoured under flashlight beams. On the eve of his 18th birthday, his father slammed the ledger shut, the sound echoing like a gavel in a courtroom Noah never asked to enter. "You're the price we pay to keep this land, boy," Harlan Sr. growled, his alpha pheromones thick with the scent of desperation and aged whiskey, sealing Noah's fate before the cake even had candles. Noah's heart slammed against his ribs as the first hook of dread sank in. Tomorrow, he'd be bound to Hunter Blackwood, the reclusive alpha from the shadowed ridges of Blackwood Hollow, a man whose name whispered through Pine Hollow like a curse wrapped in silk. The town of Pine Hollow, Maine, clung to its fog-shrouded hills like a secret too heavy to share, where omegas like Noah learned early that dreams were for betas with choices. But as the clock ticked past midnight, Noah bolted from the house, boots splashing through mud toward the whispering pines, only to freeze when headlights pierced the storm. Hunter's black truck, idling like a predator's breath, waiting to claim what tradition demanded. Noah Harlan had always known the weight of expectation in Pine Hollow, but nothing prepared him for the way it would crush him whole on his 18th birthday. The town sat nestled in the jagged embrace of Maine's northern woods, where autumn leaves turned blood-red before surrendering to winter's iron grip. Fog rolled off the Penobscot River like ghosts of old lumber barons, and the air carried the perpetual tang of pine sap and salt from the distant Atlantic. Harlans had worked these lands for generations, logging, fishing, scraping by on the edge of wilderness that didn't forgive weakness. Noah, the youngest of three, was the omega in a family of alphas and betas, his scent blooming sweet and wild like wild honeysuckle just as the mill closed for good 2 summers back. That's when the debts started piling, and whispers of alliances turned to ironclad deals. His father, Elias Harlan, was a broad-shouldered alpha with hands calloused from chainsaws and regrets, his once fiery red hair now streaked gray like the bark of dying elms. Elias had lost the fight against corporate buyouts, and now the Blackwoods, old money from the Hollows, with their sprawling estate hidden behind iron gates, held the mortgage on everything. "It's tradition," Elias had said the night before, his voice cracking over dinner of canned beans and cornbread. Noah's mother, a quiet beta named Clara, had averted her eyes, her knitting needles clicking like a metronome of defeat. Tradition. In Omega-verse circles it meant arranged bonds to secure pacts, lands, futures. For Noah it meant surrendering his heat cycles, his choices, his very soul to a stranger. The morning dawned gray and sodden, the rain easing to a drizzle that painted the world in smears of green and brown. Noah stood before the cracked mirror in his attic room, the one with the spiderweb of fissures from when his brother Jax had hurled a baseball in a fit of teenage rage. At 18, Noah was all lean lines and quiet grace. 5'9", with skin that tanned to a warm olive under rare summer suns, inherited from some long-lost Italian ancestor who jumped ship in Boston. His hazel eyes, flecked with gold, held a poet's depth, the kind that saw stories in the curl of smoke from chimney stacks. But today, they stared back haunted, shadowed by the knowledge that his life was no longer his. He pulled on his one good shirt, a crisp white button-down from the thrift store in Bangor, and jeans faded soft from wear. No tie, this wasn't some city wedding. In Pine Hollow, bonds were sealed in the town hall basement, with a justice of the peace who doubled as the bait shop owner. Noah's suppressants, smuggled from a clinic 2 hours away, sat untouched on his dresser. He'd stopped them weeks ago, letting his omega nature rise like a tide, because fighting it felt like denying the sea its waves. His scent would bloom fully today, drawing alphas like moths to flame, but only one would claim it. Downstairs, the kitchen hummed with forced normalcy. Jax, his beta brother at 22, clapped him on the shoulder too hard, muttering, "Chin up, kid. Blackwood's got that big house. Beats starving." Their sister, Lena, a fierce alpha of 25, paced by the window, her dark curls wild. "This is bullshit, Dad. Noah's not livestock." Elias shot her a glare that could fell oaks. "Watch your mouth." The Blackwoods saved us. Hunters. Honorable. Honorable. The word tasted like ash. Hunter Blackwood was 32, a widower whose first bond had ended in tragedy 5 years back. His Omega lost to complications in childbirth, or so the rumors went. He ran the lumber yard with a fist of steel. His alpha presence a storm cloud that made grown men step aside. Tall, broad, with ink-black hair and eyes like polished obsidian, Hunter was the kind of man who commanded without words. His pheromones a dark spice of cedar and smoke that lingered in the air long after he passed. The drive to town hall was a blur of wet asphalt and pine-blurred windows. Noah sat shotgun, Clara's hand trembling in his lap. "It'll be okay, sweetheart. Alphas provide." He wanted to scream that provision wasn't love, that his dreams of art school in Portland, of sketching the river's bend at dawn, of anonymous nights in bars where Omegas could just be men, were drowning in this river of obligation. But the words stuck, heavy as the fog. Town Hall squatted on Main Street like a forgotten relic, its clapboard siding peeling under the relentless damp. Inside, the air smelled of stale coffee and mildew. Reverend Ellis, the justice with a paunch and a kind smile, waited with a ledger and 2 witnesses, old Mrs. Greer from the library and Tuck, the mill foreman. And there, by the window, stood Hunter Blackwood. He turned as Noah entered, and the room seemed to shrink. Hunter was a wall of a man, 6'4", dressed in a charcoal suit that strained against shoulders honed from years of felling trees. His jaw was sharp as an axe blade, stubbled with a day's shadow, and those eyes, God, those eyes, locked on Noah with an intensity that pinned him like a specimen under glass. No smile, no warmth, just assessment, cold and thorough, as if Noah were a plot of land to survey. The alphas sent hit then, a rush of deep forest and smoldering embers, wrapping around Noah's senses like velvet chains. It stirred something primal, a flutter low in his belly that he hated himself for feeling. "Noah Harlan," Hunter said, voice low and gravel rough, extending a hand that engulfed Noah's. The touch was electric, a spark that raced up Noah's arm, making his knees weaken. "Hunter Blackwood. No pleasantries, no, you look nice. Just the fact of it, like sealing a contract." The ceremony was a blur of vows recited like grocery lists. "Do you, Noah Elias Harlan, take Hunter James Blackwood as your alpha bond, to cherish and submit in the ways of our verse?" Noah's throat closed. He nodded. The ring, a thick silver band etched with knotwork, sliding onto his finger like a shackle. Hunter's kiss was brief, lips firm and unyielding against Noah's, tasting of mint and unspoken storms. Then it was done. Bonded, married, owned. Outside, the drizzle had stopped, leaving the world slick and shining. Hunter's truck idled at the curb, a beast of black steel with mud-splattered tires. "Get in," he said, not unkindly, but with the finality of a door closing. Noah hesitated, glancing back at his family clustered on the steps. Elias stone-faced, Clara dabbing her eyes, Lena's fists clenched. Jax gave a thumbs-up that felt like a lie. The drive to Blackwood Hollow wound through miles of twisting road, pines closing in like sentinels. Noah stared out the window, the ring biting into his finger as he twisted it. "Why me?" he finally whispered, voice barely above the engine's rumble. Hunter's hands tightened on the wheel, knuckles paling. "Your father owes me. This squares it. No poetry, no romance. Just debt and duty." Noah's chest ached, a hollow wind whistling through cracks he didn't know were there. The hollow came into view then. A valley cradled by hills, the Blackwood estate a sprawling Victorian manor of weathered stone and gabled roofs, ivy clawing at the walls like desperate fingers. Smoke curled from chimneys, and in the distance, the lumber yard hummed with saws and shouts. Hunter parked in the gravel drive, killing the engine. Silence bloomed, thick as the fog. "This is your home now," he said, eyes on the dashboard. "Rules. No wandering off the property without me. Meals at 7 and 7. Your room's upstairs, 3rd door." He paused, jaw working. "And We'll figure out the rest. Noah followed him inside. The foyer a cavern of polished oak and crystal chandeliers that caught the dim light like captured stars. The air was warmer here, laced with Hunter's scent, making Noah's skin prickle. A housekeeper, Mrs. Hale, a stout beta with silver braids, nodded briskly, showing him to a room that overlooked the hollow. Four-poster bed draped in deep blues, a desk by the window piled with sketchpads Noah hadn't packed. His things from home sat in neat stacks, as if he'd always belonged. Alone, Noah sank onto the bed, the mattress sighing under him. 18 today and already a wife in all but name. The bond mark on his neck itched, a faint pressure where Hunter's claim would one day bloom fully. Tears came then, hot and silent, soaking the pillow. Outside, the pines whispered secrets he couldn't decipher, and in the distance, a wolf howled. Alpha call or lonely echo, he couldn't tell. But as dusk bled into night, Noah traced the lines of his new world from the window, vowing silently, "This cage won't break me. Not yet." Downstairs, Hunter poured a scotch in the study, the amber liquid swirling like trapped fire. The boy, Noah, wasn't what he'd expected. Not fragile like porcelain, but resilient, like birch bending in gale winds. Hunter had agreed to the bond for the land, for the stability it brought his pack, but those hazel eyes had pierced something armored in him. 5 years since Lila's death, since the fever took her and the child she'd carried, Hunter had walled himself in ice. No heats shared, no touches tender. Just work and whiskey. But Noah's scent, faint now but promising storms of honeysuckle and rain, tugged at threads long buried. He drained the glass, setting it down with a clink. Tomorrow the real work began, teaching the boy the rhythms of this life of alpha and omega entwined. But tonight, in the hollow's embrace, Hunter allowed one crack in the facade, a whisper of what if, echoing into the dark. The first week in Blackwood Hollow unfolded like a fever dream, each day layering new textures onto Noah's unraveling sense of self. The manor was a labyrinth of creaking floors and shadowed corners, its walls lined with portraits of stern Blackwoods from centuries past. Alphas with eyes like Hunter's, omegas with gazes soft as fogged glass. Mrs. Hale moved through it like a benevolent specter, her meals hearty and unadorned. Venison stew thick with root vegetables, cornbread steaming from the oven, apple pie spiced with cinnamon from the orchard out back. Noah ate in silence at the long oak table, Hunter at the head, the space between them a chasm filled with unspoken eddies of scent. Hunter was a study in restraint. Mornings, he'd rise before dawn, the thud of his boots on the stairs pulling Noah from shallow sleep. By breakfast, he'd be dressed for the yard, flannel shirt rolled to elbows revealing forearms corded with muscle and faint scars from blade slips, devouring eggs and bacon with the efficiency of a man who viewed food as fuel. "Sleep well?" he'd ask, voice a low rumble, eyes flicking to Noah's over the rim of his coffee mug. Noah would nod, throat tight, murmuring, "Fine," while his body betrayed him, nipples peeking under the thin cotton of his sleep shirt at the brush of Hunter's pheromones across the table. Afternoons, Noah explored the grounds under the unspoken rule of proximity. The hollow was a world unto itself, a creek bubbling over moss-slick stones, leading to a pond where loons called mournful songs at twilight. He found an old swing by the water, ropes frayed from disuse, and there he sat with his sketchpad, charcoal flying over paper to capture the curve of a cattail or the ripple of wind on surface tension. Art had always been his anchor, a way to pour the chaos of omega instincts into lines that made sense. Here it became rebellion, strokes bold and unapologetic, etching the manor's silhouette against stormy skies. One evening, as golden light slanted through the study windows, Noah ventured down uninvited. Hunter sat at a massive desk cluttered with maps and ledgers, brow furrowed over a contract. The alpha's scent sharpened at Noah's approach, cedar spiking with an undercurrent of heat, like embers stirred. "Can't sleep?" Hunter asked without looking up, pen scratching on. Noah hovered in the doorway, clutching a mug of chamomile from the kitchen. "Just Thinking. He stepped closer, the rug muffling his bare feet. The room smelled of leather-bound books and hunter's cologne, a mix that made Noah's pulse stutter. About the bond. What it means. Hunter set the pen down, leaning back in his chair. The movement pulled his shirt taut across his chest, and Noah's gaze dipped involuntarily, tracing the V of exposed skin at his throat. It means protection, stability. In our world, omegas need alphas. His tone was matter-of-fact, but his eyes darkened, pupils dilating as Noah's honeysuckle scent bloomed in response. Subtle, but enough to thicken the air. Noah's cheeks burned. And what about want? Not need. The words tumbled out, bold from the isolation. From nights spent touching himself in the dark, imagining hands that weren't his own, sense that promised more than duty. Hunter rose slowly, towering yet not crowding, his presence a gravitational pull. He circled the desk, stopping an arm's length away, close enough that Noah could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, a white lightning bolt against tan skin. Want is a luxury, Noah. I've learned that the hard way. His voice dropped, laced with gravel. The memory of Lila hung unspoken. Town gossip painted her as vibrant, an omega from Portland who'd softened Hunter's edges until childbirth's cruel twist snuffed her light. Hunter's hand lifted, hesitating before tucking a stray lock of Noah's hair behind his ear. The touch lingered, thumb brushing Noah's jaw, sending sparks skittering down his spine. Noah leaned in despite himself, breath-catching. Then teach me, he whispered, the challenge mingling with plea. Hunter's eyes flashed, alpha instincts warring with restraint, and for a heartbeat, Noah thought he'd close the gap, claim with lips what tradition had already given. But Hunter stepped back, jaw clenching. Go to bed. It's late. Humiliation stung, hot as a slap, but Noah held his head high, retreating to his room where the walls seemed to close in. He stripped down, the cool air raising gooseflesh on his arms, and crawled under the covers. His body thrummed, heat building low and insistent. Not full cycle yet, but the bonds tease, pheromones calling to the alpha downstairs. Fingers trailed down his chest, circling a nipple until it pebbled, then lower, wrapping around his hardening length. He bit his lip to stifle moans, imagining Hunter's broad hands instead, that gravel voice murmuring commands. Release came in waves, leaving him spent and sobbing, the empty ache worse than before. Days blurred into a rhythm of avoidance and accidental intimacies. Hunter took Noah to the lumber yard one crisp morning, the truck bouncing over rutted paths to a clearing alive with the roar of chainsaws and the sharp crack of falling timber. Men, mostly alphas, a few betas, nodded deferentially as Hunter strode through, Noah trailing like a shadow. This is Harlan, Hunter said to Tuck, his foreman, a burly beta with a laugh like thunder. My bond. The word landed possessive, sending a shiver through Noah that had nothing to do with the chill wind. Tuck clapped Noah on the back. Welcome to the madhouse, kid. Boss here's a softy under all that growl. Hunter snorted, but his hand found the small of Noah's back, guiding him through stacks of fragrant pine logs. The touch burned through denim, grounding and electric, and Noah leaned into it, inhaling the mingled sense of sawdust and alpha musk. That night, over venison and wild rice, conversation cracked open like thin ice. What do you do, besides draw? Hunter asked, fork pausing midway to his mouth. Noah blinked, surprised. I read. Poetry mostly. Whitman, Neruda. Stuff about the body, the soul. He flushed, but pressed on. And I hike. Back home, I'd follow the river trails, sketch the herons. Hunter's gaze softened a fraction. There's a trail behind the pond. Leads to a overlook. Best view in the hollow. It wasn't an invitation, exactly, but the next morning, Noah found himself laced into boots Mrs. Hale had left by his door, following the path Hunter had described. The overlook was a rocky outcrop jutting over the valley, pines framing a vista of rolling hills fading into blue haze. Noah sketched furiously, the wind whipping his hair, until footsteps crunched behind him. Hunter emerged from the trees, thermos in hand, flannel unbuttoned over a thermal that hugged his torso. Thought you might need coffee. They sat side by side on a fallen log, shoulders brushing, the silence companionable for once. Noah sipped the strong brew, black and bitter. Why lumber? With your family's money, you could do anything. Hunter stared out, jaw working. Its roots. Blackwoods built this town on wood. And after her, it keeps my hands busy. The admission hung raw and unpolished. Noah's heart twisted. He wanted to reach out, trace the lines of grief etched in Hunter's profile, but settled for, I'm sorry, for what happened. Don't be. It was fate's cruelty, not yours. Hunter turned then, eyes locking with Noah's, the air charging like pre-storm static. But you're not what I expected. Not breakable. Noah's breath hitched. Good, because I'm not. The words were a spark, and Hunter's hand cupped his nape, pulling him close. Not for a kiss, but forehead to forehead, breaths mingling in shared warmth. The bond thrummed, a living wire between them, and Noah felt the first true pull. Not duty, but desire. That pull intensified over the following days. Small fissures in Hunter's ice. A shared laugh over Mrs. Hale's burnt biscuits. Hunter teaching Noah to split kindling, his body pressed behind to guide the swing of the axe, chest to back, sense entwining until Noah's knees buckled. Nights grew restless, Noah's dreams fevered with touches that blurred memory and wish. Hunter's mouth on his neck, teeth grazing the bond spot, growls vibrating through skin. Then came the heat warning. A flush creeping up Noah's spine one afternoon in the library, where dust motes danced in sunbeams slanting through leaded glass. Bookshelves towered like ancient sentinels, filled with leather tomes on pack law and verse lore. Noah reached for a volume on Omega rights, but dizziness hit, his scent surging sweet and cloying, flooding the room. He gasped, clutching the ladder, as the first wave crashed, body aflame, slick gathering between thighs, every nerve screaming for alpha. Hunter was there in seconds, scent preceding him like thunder. Noah! The name was a command and caress, arms scooping him up as if he weighed nothing. Noah clung, whimpering, nestling into the crook of Hunter's neck where cedar pulsed strongest. It's coming. Please. Upstairs, Hunter laid him on the bed, stripping efficient and gentle. Shirt tugged overhead, jeans eased down. Naked, Noah arched, skin fever hot, his erection straining, Omega slick glistening on thighs. Hunter's breath ragged. He shed his own clothes, revealing a body sculpted from labor. Broad chest dusted black, abs ridged, cock thick and heavy against his thigh. But he didn't pounce. Instead, he knelt, hands roaming soothing paths over Noah's sides, murmuring, Easy. I've got you. The heat consumed, Noah's pleas fracturing into sobs as Hunter's fingers parted him. Slick coating digits before sliding in one, then two, curling to stroke that spot that made stars burst behind eyelids. Hunter Alpha More. The title slipped free, instinctive, and Hunter groaned, free hand fisting his own length as he worked Noah open. When the knot swelled at his base, insistent, Hunter positioned himself, eyes locked. Tell me yes. Yes? Noah gasped, and Hunter thrust home, filling him in one searing glide. The bond ignited, pleasure ripping through them both. Hunter's growls mingling with Noah's cries, hips snapping in rhythm born of need. Climax shattered Noah first, pulsing around the knot that locked them tight. Hunter following with a roar, seed flooding deep. They collapsed entwined, aftershocks trembling through joined bodies. Hunter's arms banded around Noah, lips pressing to sweat-damp temple. Mine, he whispered, not cold now, but fierce with possession turned tender. In the quiet aftermath, Noah traced patterns on Hunter's chest, heart full to bursting. The hollow felt less like cage, more like cradle. But as sleep tugged, a shadow lingered, whispers of the past, of debts unpaid, hinting at storms yet to break. The bond's seal brought a fragile peace to Blackwood Hollow, like sunlight piercing clouds after a squall. Noah's heat ebbed over 3 days of tangled sheets and murmured endearments, leaving him boneless and marked, Hunter's bites faint purple blooms on neck and collarbone, the true claim spot throbbing with promise. Mornings now started with coffee in bed, Hunter's weight dipping the mattress as he handed over a steaming mug, his free hand tracing lazy circles on Noah's bare hip. "How's my omega?" He'd rumble, voice husky from nights of restraint tested and gloriously broken. Noah would arch into the touch, smirking through the languor. "Sore, but yours." The words came easier now, laced with playfulness that coaxed rare smiles from Hunter. Crooked, devastating things that crinkled the corners of his eyes. They explored each other with the hunger of the newly awakened. Lazy afternoons in the library, Noah perched on Hunter's lap mid-read, pages forgotten as lips met in slow, deep kisses that tasted of ink and desire. Hunter proved a generous lover, his alpha dominance tempered by attentiveness. Mapping Noah's body with tongue and teeth, learning the gasps that meant more pressure here, lighter there. But peace in the verse was ever tentative, built on sands of instinct and society. Pine Hollow's eyes turned curious, then prying. At the general store one crisp Saturday, Mrs. Greer cornered Noah by the flower bins, her beta gossip sharp as a fishhook. "Settling in, dear? Hunter's not been the same since. Well, but mind the old wounds. Lila's ghost lingers." Noah nodded politely, basket heavy with supplies, but the barb lodged deep, stirring doubts amid the warmth. Back home, he confronted the manor's secrets. Rifling through the attic one rainy afternoon, boxes of forgotten relics under rafters groaning with age, Noah unearthed a trunk bound in cracked leather. Inside, letters tied with faded ribbon, yellowed photos of a laughing couple, Hunter young and unscarred, arm around a petite omega with auburn curls and eyes like summer skies. Lila. Journals followed, her script looping elegant. Tales of Portland jazz clubs, dreams of travel, fears of the bond's weight. One entry gutted him. "Hunter loves fierce, but his world is wood and duty. I fear I'll splinter under it." Noah slammed the trunk shut, chest tight. Was he just a replacement, a salve for grief? That night, over pot roast fragrant with rosemary from the herb garden, he probed gently. "Tell me about her, Lila." Hunter's fork stilled, face shuddering like storm clouds rolling in. The fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows. "What brought this on?" "Found her things. In the attic." Noah's voice wavered, but he held Hunter's gaze. "I need to know I'm not filling a hole." The alpha pushed back from the table, pacing to the window where rain lashed panes. Lila was light, bright, unyielding. She hated the hollow, wanted cities, crowds. I tried to give her that, but... He trailed off, fists clenching. The pregnancy complicated. Her body rejected the bond's demands. She bled out on our bed, begging me to save the pup. I couldn't save either. Silence stretched, heavy as the downpour. Noah rose, crossing to Hunter, hands tentative on his arms. "You loved her. That's not a hole, it's a scar. But I'm here, Hunter. Not her echo." Hunter turned, eyes raw with old pain, pulling Noah flush against him. "You're more stubborn, alive." The kiss was desperate, tongues clashing as hands roamed urgent. Hunter lifting Noah onto the table, dishes scattering with clatters. Jeans shoved down, Slick easing the way as Hunter entered him hard and deep, thrusts punctuating grunts of "mine now, always." They came undone together, Noah's nails raking Hunter's back, the bond pulsing like a second heartbeat. In the afterglow, curled on the rug before the fire, Hunter confessed fragments. The isolation after her death, how he'd pushed away packmates, buried himself in work to outrun the silence. Bonding again felt like betrayal. Until you. Noah listened, fingers combing through Hunter's hair. The vulnerability forging something deeper than lust, trust, tentative as spring thaw. But external currents stirred. Elias called midweek, voice gruff over the landline. Heard you're keeping the Blackwood name afloat. Good. But watch your back. Debts like ours breed resentments. Noah brushed it off, but unease gnawed. Jax visited next, truck rumbling up the drive with a cooler of lobster from the coast. Over beers on the porch, his brother leaned in, eyes shadowed. Dad's been talking to some out-of-towners. Suits from Boston, sniffing around the land. Say the Blackwoods cut corners on that mortgage. Shady deals. Noah's stomach nodded. What kind? Nothing solid. But if they push, it could drag you both under. Jax clapped his shoulder, leaving with a hug that lingered too long. His beta sent clean and steady. Alone, Noah watched the hollow's lights wink on, paranoia flickering like fireflies. The breaking point came at the town's harvest fair, a raucous affair in the Grange Hall, booths of pumpkin pies and cider, fiddles wailing under strung lights. Hunter attended out of duty, arm possessive around Noah's waist as they navigated crowds thick with alphas posturing and omegas in clustered whispers. Eyes followed, envy from some, judgment from others. Reverend Ellis clapped Hunter's back, booming, "Bond looks strong. Verse bless you both." Then, across the hay-strewn floor, Noah spotted him. Caleb Voss, a drifter alpha from the coastal packs, lean and sharp-featured with a smirk like a switchblade. Caleb had passed through Pine Hollow summers past, his scent of salt and steel lingering in Noah's memories of stolen glances by the river. Before the bond. "Noah Harlan," Caleb drawled, sauntering close, ignoring Hunter's stiffening. "Or should I say Blackwood? Heard the news. Congrats, or condolences." Hunter's growl was subsonic, pheromones spiking territorial. "Back off, Voss." But Caleb laughed, eyes raking Noah. "Just catching up. Remember that night by the docks? Your scent called louder than any siren." Heat flooded Noah's face. Recollection of a fumbling kiss under stars. Innocent rebellion. Hunter's grip bruised, yanking Noah away, but the seed of doubt sprouted. What if? The fair dissolved into blur. Hunter silent on the drive home, jaw granite. In the foyer, confrontation erupted. "What was that?" Hunter demanded, pinning Noah against the wall, bodies flush. "Old flame." Noah's temper flared, shoving back. "A boyish mistake. Before you. Before this." Tears pricked, anger cracking. "You think I'm pure? I've lived, Hunter. But I'm yours now. Why punish me for ghosts?" Hunter's breath heaved, forehead dropping to Noah's shoulder. "Because losing hurts. And you're." He kissed the bond spot, teeth grazing. "Everything." They stumbled upstairs, clothes shedding in a trail of urgency. Hunter on his knees in the hallway, mouth hot and worshipful around Noah's cock, drawing out moans that echoed off walls. In bed, it was raw. Noah riding Hunter, hands braced on chest, setting a punishing pace that blurred pain and ecstasy. "Feel me?" Noah gasped, clenching around the knot as it swelled. "Only me." Hunter's release roared through them, sealing the fracture, but cracks lingered beneath the mend. As autumn deepened, leaves carpeting the trails in crimson, Noah threw himself into the hollow's rhythms, helping Mrs. Hale in the kitchen, sketching designs for the yard's efficiency. Hunter noticed, praising with touches that spoke volumes. A hand on thigh under the table, a stolen hour in the barn where hay bales muffled cries. Love bloomed quiet, in shared glances over breakfast, in Hunter reading Whitman aloud by firelight, voice stumbling over verses of Bodies Electric. Yet shadows lengthened. A letter arrived, postmarked Boston. Formal notice of an audit on the Harlan mortgage. Signatures from Voss and Associates. Hunter crumpled it, face thunderous. Old rivalries. Nothing more. But Noah saw the fear flicker. Alpha pride wounded, pack threatened. That night, as they lay spent, Noah whispered, "We'll face it together." Hunter pulled him closer, murmuring into hair, "Always." But in the hollows whispering dark, betrayal brewed, unseen tendrils reaching from the past. Winter crept into Blackwood Hollow on stealthy paws, frosting windows with intricate lace and blanketing the hollow in hush-white silence. Snow muffled the lumber yard's clamor, turning it to a distant hum, and the manor glowed like a lantern against the encroaching night. Noah and Hunter settled into a domesticity that felt stolen, mornings tangled in flannel sheets, Hunter's warmth chasing chill from bones. Evenings with stew simmering and records spinning low jazz from Hunter's hidden collection. Lila's touch faint in the scratches on vinyl. Noah traced the evolution in Hunter's touch, from possessive claims to caresses that lingered, thumbs stroking knuckles as if memorizing the map of veins. But the letter from Boston festered, a splinter under skin. Voss and Associates escalated, phone calls crackling through the line with legal jargon that made Elias's voice waver during weekly check-ins. They're saying irregularities. Falsified docs from when I signed over the land. Hunter dismissed it in daylight, burying worry in felled trees and audits of his own. But nights found him pacing the study, Scotch glass sweating in hand. Noah watched from doorways, heart aching at the erosion of their peace. "Let me help," he'd say, slipping into his lap, lips brushing temple. Hunter would yield then, burying face in Noah's neck, inhaling honeysuckle like antidote, making love slow and deep on the desk, papers scattering like fallen leaves. Noah's own shadow stirred. His heat had passed, but the bond amplified subtleties. Hunter's stress pheromones sharpening to bitter ash, triggering Noah's instincts to soothe, nest, submit in ways that chafed against his core. He fought it, channeling unrest into art. Canvases pilfered from the attic, paints mixed from berry stains and charcoal, depicting the hollow's duality. Manor majestic under aurora veils, yet cracked foundations bleeding shadow. One night, Hunter found him at the easel, strokes furious. "What's this?" he asked, fingers smudging wet pigment on Noah's cheek. "Fear," Noah admitted, setting brush aside. "Of losing this. Of you shutting me out." Hunter pulled him close, paint transferring in smears, and they sank to the floor, bodies aligning in familiar rhythm. Hunter entering from behind. One hand splayed over Noah's on the canvas, mingling their marks. "Never," he vowed against spine, not locking as release crested, but words were wind without action. The storm broke with a visitor unannounced. Caleb Voss himself, striding up the drive one sleet-lashed afternoon in a wool overcoat and polished boots that mocked the mud. Mrs. Hale ushered him to the parlor with tight-lipped courtesy, and Noah, wiping flour from hands mid-bred kneading, felt ice sluice his veins. Hunter emerged from the study, shoulders squared like battlements. "Voss, state your business." Caleb's smile was oil-slick, eyes flicking to Noah with predatory gleam. "Business? Blackwood? Or pleasure?" He extended a folder, crisp and damning. "Audit findings. Your mortgage on the Harlan spread. Forged signatures, inflated values. My firm's been retained to unwind it. Could mean foreclosure. Or settlement." Hunter snatched the folder, flipping pages with controlled fury. Noah hovered, sense spiking anxious, drawing Caleb's inhale. "Easy, Omega. Wouldn't want to trigger anything." The taunt landed, Hunter's growl vibrating the air, pheromones clashing like thunderheads. "Out," Hunter snarled, crumpling a page. "We'll fight this in court." Caleb chuckled, buttoning his coat. "Court's expensive. And slow. Imagine the headlines. Blackwood Alpha's dirty deals. Fresh bond crumbling under scandal." His gaze lingered on Noah. "Heard you're nesting nicely. Careful. Bonds break when foundations do." The door slammed behind him, leaving silence fractured. Hunter hurled the folder into the fire, flames devouring evidence in greedy snaps. Noah reached, tentative. "Hunter, not now." The Alpha stormed out, boots crunching sleet toward the barn, leaving Noah adrift in the parlor's chill. He sank onto the settee, mind reeling. Forged signatures? Elias had sworn the deal clean, but doubt wormed. Had his father bartered him for a lie? And Caleb, his interest wasn't just legal. It reeked of vendetta, Old slights from pack rivalries where Voss had lost bids on lumber contracts to Blackwoods. Night fell heavy, Hunter returning reeking of hay and whiskey, collapsing into bed without a word. Noah curled against his back, whispering apologies for a crime not his. But sleep evaded, dreams tangled with Voss's smirk and Hunter's recriminating eyes. Dawn brought fragile truce. Over oatmeal laced with maple from the taps, Hunter sighed. It was a desperate time. Your father. We bent rules to save the land. Thought it buried. His hand covered Noah's, thumb stroking. But Voss is digging for blood. He courted Lila once, before me. Lost her. Lost the bid for her pack's alliance. Now this. Noah's gut twisted, jealousy sharp, mingled with pity for the woman who'd bridged their worlds. Then we expose him. Fight dirty if he does. Hunter's laugh was wry. My Omega scheming. The kiss that followed was fierce, sealing resolve. But as they parted for the day, Hunter to the yard, Noah to sketch Voss's face from memory, twisting it into caricature. Unease lingered. Weeks ground on, legal volleys flying like arrows. Lawyers retained, documents subpoenaed. Pine Hollow buzzed, loyalties fracturing. Some siding with old Harlan blood, others Blackwood steel. Jax confided over covert visits. Dad spiraling, drinking heavy, talking wild about reclaiming the land. Lena, ever the firebrand, stormed the manor one blizzard night, snow crusting her boots. This Voss prick's got dirt on all of us. Says Elias knew about the forgeries. Pushed the bond to cover. Noah's world tilted. He wouldn't. Lena's eyes softened. For you? For the family? Maybe. She hugged him tight, beta strength unyielding. Protect yourself, little brother. Bonds are chains if the alpha falters. Her words haunted as she left, truck vanishing into wideout. That evening, dinner was tense, Hunter's phone buzzing incessantly. When he stepped out to take a call, Noah eavesdropped from the hall, voice low, urgent. No, I can't involve him. The boy's innocent. Yes, pack law protects, but if it leaks. The murmur faded, but seeds of isolation took root. Isolation deepened when Noah's body shifted. Nausea mornings. Sense overwhelming, breasts tender. Omega verse biology. Bond deepened, whispered possibility. Pregnancy. He confirmed with a kit smuggled from town. 2 pink lines stark on the stick. Joy warred with terror, a pup Hunter's theirs. But in the shadow of scandal, it felt like fragility incarnate. He told Hunter by the pond. Spring thaw swelling the creek to rush. Snowmelt glistened, birds trilling tentative. We're having a baby. Noah's hand on his still flat belly, eyes wide. Hunter froze, then crushed him close, laughter rumbling like distant thunder. A pup. Kisses rained, reverent on knuckles, then lips swollen with emotion. They made love on the bank, slow and sacred, Hunter entering with whispered awe, not swelling gentle, bodies rocking to nature's lullaby. Our family, he breathed, hand joining Noah's over the spark of life. The news fortified them, a talisman against the fray. But betrayal's blade hovered. One midnight, Noah woke to Hunter's side empty, sheets cold. Slipping downstairs, he found the study door ajar, Hunter on the phone, back turned. I know what you're asking, Voss. Drop the audit and he'll visit. One night, and bonded terms. Noah's blood iced. Visit, the implication clawed. Trade his body for silence. A whore's bargain to save the land. The pup. Heart shattering, he backed away. Fleeing to the attic, tears carving paths down cheeks. The trunk yawned open, Lila's journals mocking. Love bends, but never breaks for coin. Dawn found Hunter knocking, voice thick. Noah? Open up. But Noah huddled in shadows, the fracture widening. Trust, so newly built, crumbled to dust. How could he stay, carry a child in a nest of lies? Yet leaving meant chains of another sort, verse laws binding omegas to alphas, pups to packs. When he emerged, face pale, Hunter's relief curdled to guilt at the distance in Noah's eyes. What's wrong? You tell me? Noah whispered, voice steel despite the tremble. What price for our peace? Hunter paled, realization dawning. You heard. It was bluff, stalling tactic. I'd never what? Sacrifice me like Dad did. The slap of words landed, Hunter recoiling as if struck. Noah stormed out, boots crunching gravel to the truck, driving blind through melting roads to Pine Hollow, seeking solace in the river's roar. There, on the familiar bank, he wept, for the boy he'd been, the man he loved, the future fracturing. But as gulls wheeled overhead, resolve hardened. No more ghosts, no more trades, this pup, this life, his to claim. Back at the manor, Hunter waited on the porch, snow-dusted shoulders slumped. Forgive me, he pleaded as Noah approached, voice breaking. Fear makes monsters of us. Noah paused, hand on belly. Then be better. For us. The embrace was tentative, mending begun, but scars would pucker, waiting for the next strain. Spring budded fragile, but Voss's shadow loomed larger, promising tempests to test the mend. Spring unfurled in Blackwood Hollow with hesitant greens, buds piercing soil, the creek swelling to a merry torrent that drowned out doubts for stolen hours. Noah's pregnancy progressed in quiet milestones. The first flutter like butterfly wings at 12 weeks, confirmed by a discreet doctor in Bangor who nodded knowingly at the bond's glow on ultrasound. Hunter attended every visit, hand clasped tight in Noah's, eyes misting at the grainy image of tiny limbs waving like promises. Strong, the doctor said, a kindly beta with wire rims. Alpha traits already. Back home, they celebrated with pie from the orchard's first blooms. Hunter's palm splayed protective over the swell just beginning to round Noah's middle. But celebration was veneer overwrought. Voss's audit ballooned into a full investigation, state officials poking into Blackwood ledgers like crows at carrion. Pine Hollow divided. Merchants who owed Hunter favors whispered support at the diner, but Harlan simmered with old grievances. Elias confronted Noah during a tense lunch at the family cabin, the air thick with fish stew and unspoken accusations. I did it for you, he growled, fork stabbing potatoes. Bond secured your future when the land failed. Noah's hand cradled his belly, voice steady. Secured or sold? The elder Alpha deflated, eyes red-rimmed. Desperation blinds, son. Voss has proof. My signature, but your Hunter pushed the ink. Betrayal layered. Father and husband, both complicit in the forgery's web. Word spread, and with it, isolation. Jack's distanced, calls Kurt. Lena raged via texts, vowing to testify against Voss. Hunter threw himself into defense. Lawyers from Portland, nights poring over documents until dawn. His scent fraying to exhaustion's edge. Noah soothed with nests of soft quilts in the study. Body pillowed against Hunter's during late hours, but touches turned mechanical, passion dimmed by stress. We'll win, Hunter murmured into hair, but doubt shadowed his eyes. The high tide of crisis crested in May, under a sky bruised purple with impending rain. A summons arrived. Court date in Augusta, civil suit for fraud. Voss's firm aimed to seize the Harlan land, dissolve the mortgage, and, in a vicious twist, petitioned to nullify the bond on grounds of coercion. Claiming you were traded unwitting, Hunter explained over breakfast, face ashen. If they win, the pup stays with the Alpha. Noah finished, verse law a noose. Panic clawed, but he masked it, rising to clear plates with hands that shook. That afternoon, alone in the orchard, apples budding pink, he broke, sobbing against a trunk, the babe kicking as if in solidarity. Freedom's illusion shattered. He traded one cage for another gilded with love now tarnished. Voss struck personally next. A bouquet arrived at the manor. Roses blood red, card in elegant script. For old times. Consider alternatives. CV. Noah's stomach roiled, tossing them into compost where they wilted like lies. But the seed took. Late nights, Hunter's phone buzzing anonymous. pulling him to the porch for hushed talks. Paranoia bloomed. Noah tailed him once, hiding in pines, overhearing fragments. Can't risk the boy. Pup changes nothing. Meet at the overlook. Heart hammering. Noah confronted post-meet. Hunter returning disheveled. Scent laced with Voss's salt tang. What now? Noah demanded in the kitchen, voice cracking. Secret packs? Me as collateral again. Hunter recoiled, hands up. Negotiating terms. Land for silence, no bond challenge. His eyes pleaded. For the baby. Noah laughed bitter, tears spilling. Our baby, not a bargaining chip. He fled to the guest room, barricading with chair under knob, the bond aching like phantom limb. Sleep came fitful, dreams of Voss's hands, Hunter's betrayal, the pup torn away. Dawn brought Lena's truck roaring up, sister storming in with files clutched like weapons. Got proof, Voss's firm bribed witnesses. And Dad, he confessed, pushed the bond knowing the docs were fake. Her alpha fire blazed, but softened at Noah's tear-streaked face. You're not alone. United, they plotted. Lena's contacts in Portland digging deeper, exposing Voss's coastal scams. Embezzled PAC funds, coerced bonds shattered in court. Hunter, sheepish, joined the fray, his confession raw over coffee. I thought protecting you meant shielding the ugly, but it poisoned us. Forgiveness was tentative bridge. Nights reclaiming the master bed. Hunter's touches apologetic. Worshipping Noah's changing body with oils warmed by fire. Tongue tracing stretch marks like sacred text. Lovemaking adapted. Noah on side, Hunter entering slow. Hand cupping the swell. Whispers of I love you, fracturing into moans. The bond healed incrementally, pheromones sinking to harmony, but trust's full bloom required trial by fire. The courtroom in Augusta was a sterile beast. Polished wood benches, air humming with AC and tension. Noah sat front row, hand in Hunter's, belly prominent under loose shirt at 20 weeks. Voss loomed opposite, suit impeccable, smirk faltering as Lena took the stand. Her testimony eviscerated. Documents forged not just by Harlan's, but Voss's own hand in earlier deals, a pattern of predation. This suit's revenge, she spat. Eyes locked on the judge, a stern alpha widow. Blackwoods honored the debt. Voss twists it for grudge. Elias followed, voice quaking but eyes clear. I bartered my son. Shame's mine. Gasps rippled. Noah's throat closed, squeezing Hunter's hand as father met son's gaze. Apology unspoken but profound. Voss's cross-examination unraveled him. Sweat beading, lies tripping over evidence Lena's team unearthed. Emails plotting the bond's leverage, Caleb's obsession with Lila twisted into vendetta against her widower. Hunter testified last, voice steady thunder. The forgeries were mutual desperation, but the bond? Real. Noah chose me daily. His eyes found Noah's, love bear. I'd burn the land before harming him. The judge recessed, reconvening after hours that stretched eternal. Verdict: fraud mutual, but Voss's malice primary. Fines levied, suit dismissed, bond upheld. Cheers erupted subdued. Voss stormed out, face ashen, career's noose tightening. Elation crashed post-trial. Driving home through greening hills, Hunter pulled over at the overlook, kissing Noah fierce over console. We did it. But joy soured when contractions hit sharp too early. The stress? Noah gasped, hand clutching belly as pain lanced. Hospital in Bangor blurred. Monitors beeping, doctors swarming, Hunter's face ghost white beside the bed. Preterm labor. The OB announced, beta calm. Bed rest, meds. Pups fighting. Noah endured needles and nausea, Hunter vigilant. Reading aloud from sketchpad margins, scent grounding like anchor. Weeks bedbound forged intimacy anew. Hunter feeding bites of fruit, massaging calves swollen from confinement. Confessions whispered in dark. I was cold before you, frozen. You thawed me. Noah, vulnerable in hospital gown, admitted fears. Thought you'd choose land over us. Never again. The promise sealed with gentle touch. Fingers only, mindful of restrictions. Circling slick folds until Noah arched. Release a soft wave that eased tensions not. Discharge brought home fragile triumph. Noah nested in the master with pillows and prohibitions. Summer bloomed hot, the hollow a haven of fireflies and fireflies. But Voss's defeat brewed backlash. Anonymous threats scrawled on shed doors. Bonds break. Hunter bolstered security. Pack alphas patrolling. Guns cleaned nightly. Paranoia peaked one humid night. Noah waking to shadows, convinced of intruders, only Hunter's arms dispelling phantom fears. Then, betrayal's final twist. Jax of all, confessed over a clandestine porch sit. Voss paid me to spy small stuff schedules. I fed him scraps to keep Dad afloat. Brother's eyes pleaded. Stopped when I saw your face, Noah. But the damage. Rage warred with grief. Family fractured beyond repair. Noah banished him, door slamming on blood ties, turning inward to the pup's kicks, Hunter's steadfast hold. As autumn hinted gold, labor true came, not storm, but steady rain. Hunter coached through contractions. Manner transformed birthing sweet with midwife's aid. Hours blurred sweat and screams. Noah gripping Hunter's hand to bruising, until cry pierced. A son, tiny and furious, with Hunter's dark tuft and Noah's hazel stare. They named him Elias Finn, nod to grandfather's redeemed and redeemed not. In the quiet, babe at breast, Hunter knelt beside bed, tears tracking. Our miracle! But outside, Voss's shadow lingered, appeal filed, vendetta unslaked. The hollow held breath, love's fortress against encroaching dark. Autumn's palette painted Blackwood Hollow in strokes of amber and rust, leaves drifting like confetti from a bittersweet parade. Finn's arrival anchored Noah in profound ways, the babe's weight in arms a counter to chaos, his cries a symphony that drowned legal echoes. Hunter transformed into a father of quiet ferocity. Nights pacing with colic-soothed bundles, dawn bottles warmed by his broad hands, eyes softening to puddles at gummy smiles. The manor pulsed with new life. Mrs. Hale cooing over knitted booties, the nursery a cocoon of blues and whites, walls adorned with Noah's sketches of river bends now peopled with tiny figures. Yet Voss's appeal loomed, a guillotine shadow over idle. Court dates loomed in October, affidavits piling like storm debris. Noah, body still soft from birth, chafed at confinement. Bed rest extended. The world shrunk to windows framing falling foliage. Hunter shielded, but strain etched deeper. Tempers frayed over spilled milk, touches turning perfunctory amid exhaustion. One evening, as rain pattered, Noah snapped over a forgotten diaper bag. You're treating me like glass again, cold, distant. Hunter's jaw tightened, babe fussing in rocker. I'm protecting. Appeal could drag us back, lose everything. The alphas sent Spike defensive, and Noah recoiled, tears hot. Everything? Or just the land? Finn and I, we're the everything. Silence wounded. Hunter reaching too late as Noah retreated to the nursery. Curling around Finn's bassinet, sobs muffled in wool. The bond thrummed discordant, a wire humming with discord. Hours later, Hunter knelt at threshold, voice raw. You're right. I've armored us so tight. I forgot to breathe. He joined on the rug, arms enveloping, lips to temple. Teach me again, how to love without fear. Reconciliation bloomed slow. Mornings with Finn between, Hunter's fingers interlacing Noah's over the babe's downy head. Afternoons snatched when sleep claimed the child, bodies reconnecting in hushed urgency. Hunter's mouth reverent on healing skin, entering with care, not a gentle lock sealing whispers of forever. Vulnerability shared deepened roots. Hunter admitting boyhood losses, a mother's abandonment, father's harsh hand, cracks in the cold alpha facade. The appeal hearing arrived under leaden skies. Augusta Courthouse a hive of murmurs. Voss, diminished in ill-fit suit, argued coercion with venom. Witnesses paraded, disgruntled ex-employees claiming Blackwood intimidation. Caleb's eyes bored into Noah across aisle. Babe hidden under shawl but presence palpable. Lena countered fierce, cross-exams dismantling lies. Elias, sober now, testified redemption. My sin, not my son's bond. Hunter's rebuttal sealed. Standing tall, voice resonant. This isn't land, it's legacy. Noah chose me, birthed our son. Dissolve that, you orphan a family. The judge, eyes weary, adjourned. Waiting fractured them. Days of limbo, Noah sketching compulsively, images of shattered knots and mended threads. Hunter hunted solace in woods, returning with pine boughs for the hearth, sense grounding. Finn's first laugh came then, a bubble of glee at dangling keys, pulling them into shared wonder, fears suspended in milky gaze. Verdict dropped mid-November. Appeal denied, Voss disbarred for ethics breaches, his firm crumbling under investigations sparked by Lena's allies. Elation erupted, calls from Jax seeking forgiveness, Elias's tentative overtures. Pine Hollow exhaled, toasts raised at the diner to Blackwood resilience. But victory's aftertaste soured with Voss's final lash. A midnight call, anonymous but unmistakable. You win the war, but battles scar. Days later, the barn blazed, arson, investigators ruled, traces of accelerant linking to coastal thugs Voss had ties to. Flames devoured tools and timber stacks, smoke blackening the hollow's bowl. Hunter fought the blaze shoulder to shoulder with Pack, soot-streaked and coughing, while Noah sheltered Finn indoors, heart pounding at siren's wail. Dawn revealed wreckage, charred skeleton, acrid stench lingering. Insurance would rebuild, but the violation cut deep, home desecrated, safety's illusion shattered. Hunter raged in the study, fist splintering desk edge. Bastards cornered, lashing wild. Noah found him there, Finn asleep in carrier. Then we rise stronger. He traced the fresh scar on knuckles, pulling Hunter to couch. No more secrets. We're Pack, unbreakable. Healing commenced communal. Town rallied, neighbors hauling lumber, Jax hammering beams unasked. Elias appeared one frost-kissed morning, tools in hand, eyes downcast. Let me rebuild what I broke. Noah nodded, bridge extended, forgiveness a quiet act. As winter solstice neared, snow blanketing reborn ground, Noah's body reclaimed vigor. Walks with Finn in sling, Hunter's arms steady. Lovemaking reignited full. Under Christmas lights strung hasty, bodies slick on fur rug, Hunter's thrusts deep and claiming, not pulsing as snow fell silent outside. My heart, he growled, eyes locked, and Noah shattered, crying out release that echoed joy. Finn's first Christmas dawned crisp, manor aglow with tinsel and scents of gingerbread. Gifts unwrapped. A carved wolf for the babe from Hunter's knife. Sketchbook pages bound for Elias. Toasts circled to survival to scars that mapped strength. Yet the verse's truths lingered. Omegas bore burdens unique, bonds chains that chafed even in love. Noah pondered it on New Year's Eve, hollow hushed under moon, Hunter beside on porch swing. Was it worth it? The force? The forge? Hunter pulled him close, Finn dreaming within. Pain birthed us. You taught me freedoms in choice, daily, deliberate. Kiss soft, promise sealed. Spring returned verdant, barn risen phoenix-like, Voss imprisoned for arson conspiracy, his empire dust. Noah's art flourished, gallery in Portland accepting pieces, themes of bent reeds and rooted storms. Hunter supported, pride swelling at openings, hand on small of back. Years wove forward. Finn toddling trails, hazel eyes curious. A daughter, Willow, 2 summers later. Red curls echoing lost Lila but spirit wholly theirs. The hollow thrived, lumber sustainable, Pax allied anew. Noah, at 25, stood overlook with Hunter. Children romping below, winds whispering benediction. Scars faded but informed. Compassion for broken fathers, freedom in honest loves. identity forged in fires remaking. In the verse's vast tapestry, their thread gleamed, not perfect, but humanly, achingly true. Love, they learned, was rebellion, against cold fates, against betrayal's bite, and in its light, they walked unbound.